Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Valley's most in-depth weather forecast video Thursday evening, the 5th day of December 2019, and it's weather for Weather Geeks. We're going to geek out to the winter forecast update at the end of the video. Until then, we'll just do a quick recap of where we've been and where we'll be over the next few days. 36 the high this afternoon, a 3-day stretch of below average temperatures as we have kicked off the month of December. On a chilly note, nothing crazy cold. We haven't had true Arctic air in the region in a couple of weeks now, since back way before Thanksgiving in the middle of November. We're going to see a return of Arctic air for the first time in quite a while coming up in about a week. Until then, temperatures will not be too shabby at all, especially by Sunday and Monday. Time-lapse today from our Columbiana camera. Yes, it was a gloomy start once again, but the clouds did thin enough to allow for a few intervals of sunshine this afternoon. It wasn't half bad out there. Temperatures in the mid-30s earlier today, and with a lack of a breeze and a little bonus sunshine, we didn't have too much to complain about. And we won't have much to complain about over the next few days. Now, tomorrow's going to be a pretty cloudy day. What else is new? But this front comes through with pretty little fanfare during the midday hours tomorrow. Temperatures may peak around midday, then slowly glide back. It'll set the stage for a pretty chilly Friday evening, and then a chilly, albeit fairly sunny start to the weekend coming up on Saturday as high pressure builds across. And I think our model is underdoing the clouds a bit here on Sunday. I think there'll be a veil of high clouds in this zone, making for kind of a milky sky. Not the best looking afternoon in the world, but it will be warmer as we get into the 40s, and a gusty breeze developing as well. Now, I talked about that Arctic air middle of next week. Tuesday is going to be a day, after a rainy Monday, Tuesday is going to be a day where temperatures actually fall from a morning high in the lower 40s. We'll probably end up in the 20s, and then eventually in the teens at night. This is true Arctic air coming our way for midweek. Now, this is the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, so this encompasses Wednesday through about Saturday of next week. Yeah, it's definitely a pretty cold looking stretch. The 8 to 14 day outlook doesn't look warm, probably not quite as cold during that stretch as well. Kind of a just kind of a ho-hum December pattern in that 8 to 14 day outlook. I will tell you that the long-range European this evening came in with a warm-up around Christmas time and taking us through about New Year's, followed by winter kind of dropping the hammer as we go into mid-January. That's just one run of one model, but it is something of note. Let's get into the winter forecast update. Now, I did the original winter forecast about a month ago, and the overall theme of the forecast was this is unlikely to be a memorable winter in terms of both snow and temperatures, but it will be colder and snowier than it was last year. One of the things we do when we create a seasonal forecast is we look at past years with a similar setup as far as oceanic temperatures are concerned, conditions in the atmosphere, even way up near the stratosphere. We have data that goes back a long ways that we can try to match to the setup heading into this winter. It's kind of a neutral signal in the Pacific in terms of El Nino, La Nina. Might be a very weak central Pacific-based El Nino, but it's overall pretty neutral. A few other factors give us this list as far as analog years. And I told you about a month ago when I did the original forecast, we can kind of start throwing out some of these older years, these older analogs, because the atmosphere was so different back then. The atmosphere has undergone so much warming globally in the past 30 years or so that some of these analog years aren't as useful, I don't think, when they get back into the 60s, 70s, and even before then. So I certainly more heavily favor the more recent analogs, and I still think this list is pretty valid. I still think 2004, 2005 is the closest match. What happened that winter? It was a little colder than average and about 20 inches snowier than average back in that winter of 2004, 2005. All right, here's the updated temperature forecast. How does this compare to the original forecast? On a national scale, it looks a little colder out in the middle of the country, a little bit colder in the mid-south. Above average temperatures still favored for the winter as a whole across the Gulf Coast, and then heading up the West Coast as well. For us, yes, the blue now covers all of Ohio. My original forecast kind of had the cutoff between average and below average, more like this. I have extended the below average a little farther south. I'm becoming more and more convinced that the winter as a whole will end up coming out in the wash as colder than average. A memorable winter for harsh cold like we had back in 2013, 2014, and then 2014 and 2015. No, I kind of doubt that. But a colder than average winter and colder than the last couple of years, yeah, I think that's seeming pretty likely. As far as precipitation goes, I still have us in the above average category. The month that might feature the biggest departure from average precipitation-wise may be here in December. may not be as far from the average in January and February. Now, does that mean that most of our snow this winter will come in December? No, I don't think so. But precipitation in all forms, maybe the largest difference from average will be during the month of December. I'm seeing some signs in some of the modeling that may end up being the case. The snow forecast, I didn't change a thing here. Wherever you are on this map, all of these totals are between 10 and 40% above the average. Not record-setting, not as high as some of the winters we had early this decade, namely the winter of 2010-2011, but more than we had last year, and above the average by some percentage. Of course, the colors get brighter as you go north into the secondary snow belt. In Trumbull and Mercer counties, the amounts are always higher up here because of lake effect. And yeah, places like Kinsman, Greenville, across the northern tier of Trumbull and Mercer, there might be some triple-digit snowfall totals this winter, whereas in the heart of our viewing area, Warren to Youngstown and the 224 corridor, where our big population centers are, I would expect an average of 40 to 50 inches of snow, a little bit above the average for that zone. So I didn't change a whole lot this year compared to the original forecast put out a month ago, but I did make it just a little bit colder. My confidence is a little bit higher that it will be a colder than average winter than it was a month ago. We'll see how it pans out, and as always, I'll do a status update and what's the word I'm looking for? A report card, if you will, on the winter forecast at the end of meteorological winter by March 1st. I always grade our forecast, good, bad, or ugly. You'll get nothing but honesty from me as far as the forecast verification goes. We take accuracy seriously, and we try to learn lessons each winter and try to apply them to subsequent winters. Thank you for watching Weather for Weather Geeks. Hope you enjoy the rest of your Thursday night.